Hi, everyone. I'm Rhonda Ellis.
And I'm Melissa Sutton. And this is Cultivating a Home,
the podcast. This is a place where we will talk about what really matters: growing in our walk with Christ, building strong marriages, raising our children with intention, and creating peaceful, life-giving homes centered on Him.
We'll share practical encouragement, real-life stories, and biblical truth to help you cultivate a heart and home that reflects Jesus. New episodes are every Thursday, so let's step into today's conversation together. Hi, everybody. We're so glad that you're back today, and we have gotten so many comments and people texting us and messaging us about the last couple of episodes on friendship. I wanted to share this text I got from a friend that said that our episodes have been just so helpful and good. And they said these would be great information for training leaders of small groups. And a small group at church or in a business is one of the primary functions is to develop real community in a group. And they just texted me that and shared and said that that would be so helpful in training the last few episodes that we've done. So that was so sweet.
That's awesome, because
know.
whatever we're learning about friendships in relationships, it really applies to anything.
Exactly.
Coworkers, church friends, family members,
sports teams, anything like that. Anytime you're in a group. So thank you guys so much for all the comments and texts. We really appreciate it. And we are continuing our conversation on friendship today. We wanted to talk a little bit. We wanted to touch on this about conflict and repair in friendships, and maybe even being friends with people who have different personalities than you, maybe even difficult personalities, someone might say. How can you help us kind of walk through that?
Okay, I'd be glad to do that. Well, I have a story. Ha 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 ha. In my home business, I had a lot of consultants across the country, and I was in charge of training them. And this was when email first started coming out. And I got an email from this consultant who I really liked, but we had very different personalities. She was one that was very detailed and asked questions of me that required me to be organized, and that wasn't my gifting. So I was learning about different personality types and whatnot. Well, I got an email from her that really was very forthright and hurtful in it. And I wanted to react immediately to the email and say how wrong her view of what happened was, and to give her a different side. And I wanted to just do it right back. But I had been learning, and I applied it this particular time to wait, to sit on it, and then to filter that email, her content in it, through not the hurtful words that she was saying, but what was underneath it. And I asked the Lord, would you show me what really is the hurt underneath this? And let me just address that with her. So I sat on it a little bit and then was able to have insight that really what she was asking for was more time with me. But that is not the verbiage that was used. And so if I would have responded back with the initial thoughts I had, it would have really made for a very messy relationship. But because I took the time to do that and asked the Lord for insight, really, I gave her more time with the training and the different things like that. And we had a beautiful friendship develop over the years. But during that time, I learned to ask also, is there any truth to what was said? That's part of the analysis that goes on, part of looking for, did they just reveal a blind spot that actually could help me? It doesn't matter the manner in which somebody told it to us. I mean, if you're raising kids or you're talking about yourself, it does matter. We should be kind, and we should teach our children to be respectful in how they communicate, critiquing, and whatnot. But as far as us receiving, no matter if it's coming even from a person who maybe says what they're thinking and they don't have a filter, we can still benefit by thinking, is there any truth to what they just said? And really what I've learned is those people are kind of a blessing because they perhaps are revealing what other people think about us, about our actions, about things that we might be blind to. And they've given us insight to it. And that's a real gift. It's an opportunity for us to grow and to develop and to learn ways to become more like Christ. So I've found benefit in even sometimes the harsh words that have been said, if I'm willing to take a look at what I truly own. And then the next step would be to acknowledge it and to apologize for it and then to seek to do differently. And that's how we grow in grace and grow with Christ. And that's helpful for all friendships.
I love this question. Is there any truth to what they're saying?
Mm-hmm.
And to think maybe this person, even though they did it in a harsh way, are telling me something that other people are thinking, but don't want to say it. You know, you mentioned that she had sent you an email. Somebody might be saying something to your face that
Or texting
these days. Probably the main way is someone telling you something difficult. And the best advice I hear you giving is take a minute, take some time, and think about what they said instead of giving a knee-jerk reaction to, well,
exactly.
Boom, like
and
a bad reaction.
We don't have to really respond to every accusation that's been made. We would want to do that if we think we have to win everything or if we have to be justified. So even that could be a little character check for us. A lot of things just don't matter. Let's look beneath the harsh words. And what's the person really communicating under the hurt? I mean, we've all done that before, even to our spouse, where we've said something that we really wasn't the bottom line of what was producing the anger in us. And we need to take a minute and, evaluate that. But if we really care about other people and friendships, it's trying to understand their heart and their position and wanting to love others well, which is not us having to win and us having to be right.
That's really good. What if we have a situation where we don't react as well? What is a good way to repair in conflict?
Well, you remember us talking on an earlier episode about the phrase, I don't want to be in this mess. I think anytime that we recognize, oh no, look what I've created, or look what has been created, even if you might not be the sole responsible party for it. Look what mess there is right now, and go to the person and apologize for any part that you own. Sometimes it might not even be what you said was wrong. It might be spot on, but the manner in which it was said was rude or harsh or hurtful, and you could apologize for that. Or you could apologize for the way you reacted to something. And so that's important. And then it's to not say the apology with, but just really try to remove that from an apology. I'm very sorry that my words were so harsh to you. Will you forgive me? But I want you to know what you said really hurt me. I don't know that that's always necessary because apologizing is really restoration between people, but it's also making sure that we are at peace with our relationship with Christ. And forgiveness is always what Christ asks us to do.
That's good. Talk a little bit about boundaries and if you think that they are important in friendships, healthy boundaries, and maybe sometimes saying no without feeling guilt or, worrying about saying no.
Okay, this was another thing that I learned through years of trying to balance running a home business with homeschooling and being involved in church and having, a very full life like most people do.
Yeah.
I sometimes would find that I'd get myself into situations where I'd say yes because I didn't know how to say no. I didn't want to let people down or I was a people pleaser. And the fact is, growth in this area is so healthy. If you know what your family's priorities are for this season or even this day or this week, and you're very sure about those things, then learning to say no, it could help you to stay in line with those priorities. And also saying yes could be just the very thing needed to accomplish those priorities. But the thing that helped me to feel better about saying no is recognizing, I'm not saying this verbally, but in my reasoning behind it is, no, that's not fitting my priorities at this time. It's not coming from an angle of, no, I'm better than you, and so I can't do that. That's not what it means. So let's say that you ask me if I want to speak at a ladies' event at your church. Well, that's a good thing. I would love to do that. But if I feel bad about saying no to you, that's the wrong reason. But if I know right now my energy level can't handle it, or that's going to take up an evening where my priorities right now are family night, and that's going to take away from that family night we were going to have planned, then I could say, thank you for asking me. Or if no is really hard, just make yourself have a pattern of you don't answer then. You say, let me get back with you. It could be about a lunch date, a speaking event, a play date, or whatever, but give yourself time, and then you can come up with your crafted wording so that you feel better about it. But really, you're essentially saying, thank you for asking me. I'm not able to do it at this time. Underneath it, it means no, because it doesn't fit my priorities right now. It's not a cut down. It's you trying to do the best with your time frame.
Right. Yeah. That's really good. And sometimes in friendship, there might be a situation where it's draining you or it's an unhealthy situation, and we don't have to feel bad about a no.
That's right. It applies to the friendship factor too, because it could be the person is draining and you don't have the energy for that right now. So no, I'm not able to do that right now. Said with kindness and grace. And also, you're not behind the scenes telling other people, I'm not going to do that with that person.
Yeah.
It's very respectful. It just privately means the answer is no right now.
Yeah, that's really good.
You also ask about boundaries. And Lisa Turkhurst has an amazing podcast that's called Therapy and Theology. And her slogan is, I bring the issues, and this man brings the theology, and this other man brings the therapy. And it's her theologian from Proverbs 31 Ministries and her personal therapist. So the three of them do this incredible podcast. You should listen to every single episode. Well, the thing that I remember her quoting, so I might misquote it, but what it meant to me is very impactful. Boundaries are not meant for the other person. It's not meant to punish. It's not meant to put them in their place. Boundaries are meant for us to be the healthiest version of ourselves. And I think this really
helpful.
Applies to friendships too. It can apply to more beyond friendships. But in friendships, if you have a friend that is taxing or toxic to you, but yet they're kind of in your world a lot, and so you don't want to ignore them and be unkind to them, but you want to establish some boundaries so that you are the best version of yourself. And I just think that's such a healthy way of looking at it. You're not like giving them the silent treatment because you're punishing them. You are just being kind, but you're going to limit, for example, the degree that you expose your heart to them because they've proven to not be trustworthy with the information that you've shared. Or you've set up a boundary that nobody has to know about except you and the Lord and your mind.
Yeah.
The boundary of, I won't be sharing any information that reveals any hurt in my life, because the pattern with them has been they use it to abuse verbally. So they don't get that part of me now. And so we need to evaluate different types of friendships or relationships that we have in our path in life, where our daily routine takes us. And we have to think about being the healthiest version of yourself and not letting people manipulate you or lie to you or not be a safe place. You can't change them. And sometimes you can't remove yourself from a situation because you work right next to them or they're in your family. And so you still should, God calls us to always be kind, always be friendly, but we want to be wise with what we share.
That's great. That's really good advice. Let's talk about a little bit about friendship in life changes. Sometimes maybe you are in a friend group where somebody gets married and you're not married, or somebody has a baby. They're the first one in the friend group to have a baby. All kind of different life changes. Maybe somebody moves. Talk a little bit about that, about what you can do to continue a friendship, even though they're in a different life stage.
Well, I want to recognize that in walking with other women in life, there's so many painful situations because we all have life events that we long for, such as getting married or having a baby. And yet we watch other people reach those milestones at different paces before us, or maybe we don't even get to experience one of these. That's the desire, the deepest desire of our heart. And it's very painful. So let's say that you're in a group of single women and you're all such good friends and one of them gets engaged. That hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one gets engaged. And there you are, still single and lots of questions. And I recognize there are many women who love to be single. And so it's not like I don't want anybody to think I'm at all saying that's not a great place to be. But there are ladies who wish they were married and then they're watching their friends get engaged and then they're invited to engagement parties and then weddings. And that can be very hurtful. And yet, if we take a look at even things through our pain that we're walking through that are painful, through the lens of what does God's word say? That's where we can always go back to.
Mm-hmm.
How should I act in this situation when I'm hurt? What does God's word say? Well, it does say rejoice with those who rejoice. Now, it doesn't mean you're jumping up and down and acting phony about celebrating somebody when you're deeply hurting, but it does mean to continue to pray about it, work through, wrestle through, be very honest with God about how you feel. He wants us to do that. He welcomes us. He wants to put his arms around us and comfort us. And he promises to do that. But we want to allow God to move our heart in such a way that our actions are able to go and support the other and encourage them. And that's the goal. And I've watched many of younger women do very sweet things during that time. And it's the opposite of what you feel like doing. For example, they would love to have a baby and they are not yet expecting, or maybe they're not married yet and they're not sure they will ever have children. And yet, after wrestling with God and being honest with him and being content for that season, which is sometimes it's not just a one-time thing. It's continuing to talk with God about it and work through it. But then they're able to give in the very area that they hurt. For example, that might be they call their friend or someone at church and they say, would you like a night out? And I'll babysit your children.
Sweet. Yeah.
Very, very sweet. And maybe helping women at church who have children to give them offer, can I take your children to go shop for Mother's Day?
Mm-hmm.
So giving in the area that is most painful to them is a really beautiful thing to do. And learning to celebrate others, it's very hard. And I want to recognize that this is not easy. We are called to be content in whatever season we're in, and also to rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. And on the flip side of that, there's times when ladies are going through something very hard and we might have something wonderful going on in our life. And the Bible applies to that as well, for us to pause in our celebration of something, to go be with the friend who's hurting and just to be present and to sit in their pain with them and not have the answers, not use spiritual lingo, not have verses ready to go, but just sit and allow the person to talk and share and be heard and be seen. And that will be a big encouragement to that person. Both of those are being friends in mourning and in rejoicing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of this goes back to us looking for how to love others well. And this also applies there could be someone who loses their spouse And maybe they're in a friendship group with us where lots of couples get together and do things. Well, I think we need to say, Lord, how can I continue to love my friend well? Because this is different now. She doesn't have her husband. What's the right thing to do? And continue to invite your friend and let that friend decide if she wants to come that time or not come that time. And if she says no for the first 4 times, maybe she's not ready yet, but the 5th time she might be ready. Not to put pressure on her, but just to let her know you love her. And remember to say her spouse's name. Don't neglect that. That's very important to continue to let them know you remember their spouse.
Yeah, that's good. And just to have the memory that, to remember ourselves that we can have friendships with people who are not in the same stage of life as us.
Mm-hmm.
If the friend, is in the friend group and they get married, well, you can still have a friendship with them. If the friend moves, you might have to be a little bit more creative, but just because people are in a different life stage as you, I have friends that are single. I have friends that are, 15, 20 years younger than me, older than me. There's...
I raised my hand. Ooh. Did you say older than you? Ooh.
What a gift. Everybody doesn't have to be in the same stage of life as you or even live in the same state as you. You mentioned last episode, I think, about your friend that you see like once a year. Just because it may be different than what we have imagined or expected doesn't mean that they can't be a close, good friend.
Mm-hmm.
What about people who maybe not in a different life stage, but are different in their beliefs or their background, political views? What about that? Culture?
Well, it's so important today in the climate that we live in with people being so upset about different political views and, so many different things that we have to walk on eggshells about. Well, again, if we go back to what the Bible tells us to do, it's as much as it is within us, be at peace with all men. That means we can be a good listener. Somebody can have a different view than us and we can listen. We don't have to act like we believe everything they say, but we can certainly show that we're listening. And we could even ask follow-up questions to find out, not put them on the defense, but to hear more, to open up the conversation about, tell me how you came to feel this way and say it in a way that welcomes them. And then don't shut them down. Just be a listener. You do not have to act like you have the right answer. They probably already know your feelings, but you're creating a safe place for them to share. And then if they invite you to share, then you can share honestly and you can tell probably very quickly if they get irate, if they shut you down, then you are learning from them. This is not the place to share your views, and that's okay. You don't have to. But that's not going to be somebody who's probably going to be a super close friend with you, but you can always be friendly. And then you can also agree to disagree. You don't always have to say, well, we're just going to have to agree to disagree. Sometimes that has to be said because somebody might be getting intense about it, but give people space to share. And then you can share, hopefully you can share what you feel and then leave it at that. Don't try to win. Don't try to one up. Don't try to be brash or aggressive about it.
That's good. There was a quote that we were talking about earlier about the friends in our life and how they can affect our decisions. Do you have that?
Oh, yes. This is from a book called The Friendships of Women by Dee Breston. And I read this book the first time back in 2010, and this quote just stood out to me. And I've thought about it over the years. It's this: when your closest friends are strong in the Lord, it impacts you profoundly. When I look at the really good choices I've made this week, so often they were influenced by a friend. And then she goes on to say, for example, in the last few days, on Sunday, this happened. On Monday, this happened. And on Tuesday, this happened. So I started thinking about my week. I've done it every time I've read the book. Just use it as a time to pause, to just be in awe. Wow, that's so true. How many little decisions were actually impacted by those. And so I wrote down a couple things.
Okay.
I just got back from vacation with two of my daughters who just graduated from college. And we went to Portland. And one of our favorite authors is John Mark Comer. And he's also has a great podcast. So I encourage everybody to listen to that. It's amazing. And he was formerly the pastor there. And now he's doing a ministry called Practicing the Way. And my daughters have read some of his books as well. Well, we're on vacation. We're renting dune buggies to ride over sand dunes and visiting waterfalls.
Oh, yeah. We're having a big time.
We were having the best time. And one of my daughters, Heather, said, "Hey, Mom, can we go to his church?" And I had completely forgotten I was on vacation mode. So we went in our trail clothes to his church. Like I said, he's not the pastor there now. It was a man named Tyler. It was incredible. But we went to his service because of a decision Heather said. There's an example
Influence,
there.
yeah.
And then we bought books that they were selling there at cost by John Mark Comer and some of the other influential people that were in his life, like Dallas Willard and the man Tyler, who was is the pastor there. And then I got to thinking, my friend Christina is the reason we even knew about John Mark Comer, because she texted me about him. Have you read this book? And I'm just so thankful I have people in my life that they pass on great books, because it's who's made. One of the reasons that I am who I am is from the influence of friends who told me about authors, who tell me about podcasts, who shape things. And then we got to laughing because what did you do?
Well, the last time we were together a couple weeks ago, right before your vacation, you were talking about a book. And as you're telling me about the book, I'm literally on Amazon adding to cart, and ordered it and read it. So that is, you don't think about it, but we make 1,000 choices a day. And a lot of the decisions that we're making throughout the day, a lot of choices, it's because a friend, like a restaurant, skincare, a book, a podcast, a song, people in our lives have suggested it to us, and then we do it. So, and that quote is so good, that's saying, the friends in your life are influencing you, good or bad. So Be careful about the company that you keep, for sure, because they're the ones influencing you in your choices.
So true. Right. Makes me think of Proverbs 13:20. He who walks with the wise grows wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm. So it's one or the other. Either you have wise friends and they just interject things in your life which cause you to make different decisions. Yesterday, we were at my husband and son's business, and they were rewarding their employees with a 1 week's check.
Nice.
Just an additional bonus because the company did well. The company does well because the people did well. And so they were rewarding that. Well, I was talking to one of the employees afterwards, and my son was the one that did that. And this young man said, John was so inspiring. But also, just random things. Like, this is not necessarily a spiritual thing, but it makes me laugh.
Yeah.
I was at a wedding, and we had the hour before the wedding, the social hour between the wedding and the reception. And there was a friend there that I hadn't seen in a few years. And we just got to talking and laughing about things. And somehow Amazon purchases got brought up. And so we just started laughing about all the different things that we had purchased that randomly were popping in our minds, and we were cracking up. Well, then for the next couple weeks, we would send each other a random text.
Hilarious.
A screenshot of what came up on our social media feed that we were tempted to buy. And the other one would say, okay, don't do it.
Take a step back.
We were giving each other motivation to not purchase it. And I'm not kidding. I've really stopped purchasing things from that friend's influence, even though it started as a joke of, hey, look, this red mask therapy came up. And this weight loss medicine came up. What are they thinking about me? I got wrinkles and I've got weight I need to lose. And then she'd show me things on her news feed, and she would interject things like, hey, something that I've learned to do is I just go ahead and put it in my Amazon cart and I don't purchase it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's great. Instead of buy now, just put it there and, think about be anxious for nothing. Do not buy. Be anxious for nothing. Don't buy that red light mask thing yet.
Give it a minute.
Give it a minute. So that's just a silly example, but people who we are around influence us. So it's important to think about the friendships you have right now and kind of think through them. Think of one friend right now. What do you text or call that person? What is the conversation about when you're with that person? And as you go through your friendships in your mind, if a person, when you get to a certain person and the relationship is based on, she's the one I complain to, she's the one I badmouth my husband to, she's the one I immediately go to when I feel like somebody's wronged me. What kind of friend is she to you? She's not really standing up to you. She's not really calling you on it. And you're not wanting her to. What kind of friend are you to her? That's a friendship worth analyzing.
Yeah.
And actually worth taking a look at yourself. Why do you have that friend in your life? Because we're called to be friends who iron sharpens iron. And so think through that. And then also take a good look at what kind of friend do you want to be? But even let's be more realistic than that. What kind of friend are you? And take a look at those lists, those people that go through your mind or in your phone. Friend. Think about each one of them. Why does that person call me? Does that person want something from me? Or does that person complain to me? Do we just talk about other people? Is that the common denominator? Is just gossip? What patterns am I seeing? And then what vision do you have? What is a healthy friendship? We've talked about some of that in the podcast before. We've mentioned some things here. What do I need to do differently to change my heart so that I am the kind of friend that the Bible says to be, and so that I am attracting like-minded people to me as a friend and vice versa? Because it starts with us changing. I think that's a good thing to do.
For sure. Absolutely. And we talked about last time, a deeper friendship has to have some vulnerability in it. And I know you had talked about, you wish that you had been, a group of you wish that you had been more vulnerable years ago and that you do better at that now. What are some other ways that you had thought about in that category of vulnerability?
Well, I'm glad you brought it back up because after the last podcast, I got to thinking, did I really describe what I meant fully? And this example came to my mind. It was a long time ago, at least 25, 30 years ago. And I was doing a Cultivate event at my house, which is where women would come and they'd be taught about some type of topic that was helpful in our parenting or marriage or whatnot. And it was at my house. And earlier that day, I had called a friend of mine and we were sharing about our day. And I had a really, really rough day in homeschooling. And my kids had to be 3rd grade and under. I was telling her how hard it was, like kind of bearing my soul a little bit. Well, that night is the event at my house. And that friend was there, but other friends were walking in. And this one friend came in and she asked something about homeschooling. Like, how do I like homeschooling? And I said, I really love it. I don't know if I said something like, God is so good. I don't know what I said, but I remember my friend. I could see her in the corner of my eye, and I knew what I was saying to this friend who just walked in with the friend I'd been on the phone with earlier. I could tell she was hearing, and to her, it felt like I was lying. I was not being truthful. Well, the fact is, I was being honest in that God is good, and I was being honest in that I liked homeschooling. But that misrepresented the vulnerability and the transparency.
The whole story.
And I'm sure I thought I was doing the right thing. But that didn't sit well with my friend, and I knew I'd hear about it later.
Yeah.
But she did say something later. She said, you weren't truthful with her. And that was another point in time where I learned that there's value in having friends say something to me that hurts.
Is there any truth to what they're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there any truth to what she's saying? And in that case, yes. Even though it hurt, yes. And what do I own in it? So asking, what do I own Well, what I owned was not being transparent, not letting the wall come down, not letting people in. You know what? That person probably would have preferred to hear the real version than the flowery version, because we all want to be real with each other and know life is hard.
It would have been more helpful to her, maybe. Yeah.
It would have been more helpful, and it would have felt more honest. And so, on one hand, I'm learning from the other friend the importance and the value of being real with people. And that helped me in teaching women. It helped me with parenting. It helped me with friendship. And it also, again, goes back to that earlier point of finding value, even if somebody says something in an uncomfortable or harsh way. I still don't think I'm the one that comes across. I do. Probably my kids would say, yeah, you can. But with friends, I don't necessarily speak up. A lot of times I just take things more to the Lord, like show me how to grow and how to have grace and whatnot. But I do find value because she said something to me that probably other people had been thinking and they would not say, just like I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And so it's so helpful. Ladies, if your husband says something to you and you just get that stiff shoulder and stiff neck, but he says something, first of all, he shouldn't talk to you rudely, so I'm not saying that. But if he says something and you just bristle up, just ask the Lord, is there any truth to that? Is there any pattern in my life like that? Or if your kid says something, maybe it's not in a respectful way, and that could be talked about at a later time with them. Like, I value your input, but you need to be respectful. You can tell them what that looks like. But if they say something, don't fight right back at them. Pause. But maybe they're giving you great insight that could help you see a blind spot, that could help you with all friendships, that could help you in your marriage. It could even be something like your husband says, that's tacky. And you're like, he got a lot of nerve telling me that. But maybe it could be an area that you could grow in to learn to ask people, could you help me decorate? Could you help me shop? Could you, that's a great thing to ask for help from other people who are better at things or see life a little differently. Or it might be like your kid says, you never listen to me, or you always assume things. I do not. You could fire right back. Or you could say, honey, you said that in a disrespectful way, but I'm going to consider what you said and we'll talk about that later. Meaning the disrespect is not the time to do that, but you really take it back to Lord and go, Lord, let me see. Is that a pattern? Search my heart and show me if that is. And then you can go back to that child and say, you know what? You were right. I see that I jump to conclusions. And I see that I don't listen fully to what you were bringing to me because I was quick to shut you down. And we can do that in the realm of friendships as well. And then that gives us opportunity to apologize, an opportunity to really try to do life or to behave, to think in a different manner that lines up with God's word. And so let's think about all friendships in our life and value their input. But then let's also remember we should always be respectful in any type of delivery that we have. And we also don't need to say everything we think.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
If I had a friend in my life that said everything they were thinking, like negative, and was constantly critiquing me, that would not be a friendship I enjoy. So I'm saying I would want to listen to what they say, but I'd also put up that boundary thing we were talking about where I don't have to hear that all the time.
Right.
I want a friendship that's easy. Like grace is extended because just I'm doing my best.
Every single time you're together.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a time where they're telling you, hey, you need to work on,
And I don't want to be that type of friend to them. I want to just assume the best, assume they have the best intentions, and not micromanage them, not do the one-up, the scoring, all the stuff we talked about last time. There should be an ease in friendship. And there also, I think, a valuable thing in friendship is if we are sharing a story, if we actually say, of course, this applies to family members as well, but this is about friendship. If we're sharing something with our friend and then we say something like, so Melissa, now that you've heard everything, can you tell me, maybe how I'm seeing things off? Or
Yeah.
can you share with me maybe what you would be feeling if you were the other person in the
Yeah.
story? We want that iron sharpens iron. We want that perspective because so often conflicts are because we're seeing from two different perspectives.
Yeah. Or you could, if someone is sharing something with you, a friend or a family member, if they're sharing stuff with you, like, here's something that just happened, it was really hard and I don't understand, and, giving you a whole scenario, you might need to say, do you want me to tell you the truth? Do you want me to tell you what I really think, or do you want me to just listen?
Mm-hmm.
And if they say, I really just want you to listen, okay.
Yeah.
Or if they say, tell me the truth, and you can do
Just
it in
one
love.
thing, no,
Yeah,
please.
just one, like, and be gentle, in love. You can tell them the truth, not out of berating them, but as a true friend, like, especially if they ask, I want you to tell me the truth. And I think that we can do that in telling somebody the truth in love, just like that we would want somebody to do for us. And back to the vulnerability, just like the ladies asking you about homeschooling and you answered, I love it. God is so good. I'm so thankful for the opportunity. All of that is true, but also it's hard.
Yeah.
And in fact, today was terrible.
Right.
Like, you can say that and still be telling the truth, but also being real.
Yeah.
This has been really good. All of these episodes on friendship. I know.
We hope that this really helps all of you, men and women, actually, because the quote that Melissa gave at the beginning was a man. It was from a man on staff at a church, and he wants all the life groups, people wanting to build community, to hear this information, because the better we get at implementing God's word into our lives and extending grace and learning to speak the truth in love and walking alongside others, and how that really, the practical application of it, that's what this is about.
For sure.
And that helps the community of Christ, and it helps us beyond that too. It helps us in all relationships.
Helps us, helps our family, helps our friendships, helps our church, our community.
So share this with your friends at church, your staff at church, friends. Hit that share button there, because we so much care about your heart and your home and also your community.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for all of the comments and reviews and texts that you have been sending us. We appreciate it. And thanks for joining us today.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for spending this time with us today. We hope you're walking away encouraged and equipped with something simple you can put into practice right where you are. Remember, it's the small, faithful choices that shape the atmosphere of your home. So wherever you are today, keep cultivating hearts and homes for Christ.